Misuse your powers for evil.
Your evil is mine.
Hello, and welcome to the first official podcast episode of Next Stop Everywhere. I'm Jesse Jackson. Joining me is
Charles Skaggs.
And after a couple of issue 0 and issue 0.5, we are finally on episode 1.
Which is their third episode, so go figure.
Yes, and so years from now, when people are trying to collect the episodes, it will make the podcast buyer's guide very crazy.
That can't be any worse than like DC and Marvel comics. So.
Right. Yeah, that's a little comic book humor for people that love comic books. So tonight we're going to talk about Deep Breath, the first episode of the 12th Doctor. Now, are we just going to assume 12th Doctor? Are we just going with that?
Yes, we're going to go with 12th Doctor because he's the 12th actor to star in the series, in the actual series, as Doctor Who. Well, the Doctor.
Right.
Yeah. John Hurt, yes, he's a doctor, but he's considered the War Doctor, or Doctor 8.5, if you will.
Right.
And, Tennant's, second regeneration doesn't really count.
Right.
So, yes, he's the...
Okay.
Peter Capaldi is the 12th Doctor.
Okay. That's what I thought, too. But I just wanted to make sure. We have... it was written by Stephen Moffat and directed by Ben Wheatley.
Yes.
Any trivia you want to share about Ben Wheatley? I didn't do any research, but you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't. I unfortunately didn't do my homework on Ben Wheatley, so you totally stumped me there. So
all right, so we'll just
congratulations.
No problem. Okay, we're gonna give you a little bit. We're gonna draw the curtains back to our wonderful listeners. So Charles and I are playing with our formats. So we would appreciate feedback from people who are listening. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. But for now, we're just going to go with our guts. And we're going to start most episodes with quick thoughts. Yay or nay on the episode. And I'll let you go first, Charles.
Oh, okay. Overall, I think Deep Breath was a solid introduction to the 12th Doctor. It wasn't, I don't think it was as strong as Matt Smith's first episode, The 11th Hour, but it's still good enough to introduce Capaldi as the 12th Doctor and then kind of get us started off on the rest of Series 8.
Yeah, I liked it a lot, and I think that if I was, and we usually wait and rate the episodes at the end, and we'll still do that, but my initial thoughts was to rate it really high, and I think part of that is it feels like we've waited forever for New Who. So I think part of that is just the excitement of seeing New Who and an expanded, really long episode.
Right.
So, but I was really happy. I loved watching it live. A lot of fun things on Twitter. I don't know. We're not people who really follow a lot of numbers, but the Hollywood Reporter reported that this is one of the best in the modern era Who debuts. So the ratings were good. It feels like the whole geek universe was watching, which is awesome.
Yeah, from what I read, the episode was the highest rated in terms of audience since Matt's first episode back in 2010. So that tells you there was at least, the initial interest of, okay, we got to check out the new guy and see what he's like.
And I agree it wasn't as strong. In fact, someone asked us last night on Twitter, if I wanted to get in Doctor Who, how do I start? And Charles, of course, being the complete Whovian, just go
Yeah.
anywhere and have fun.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know if this would be a great episode for someone who's never watched Doctor Who before, while the 11th hour really did seem like it reset everything with keeping everything current, but it really was the old adage that Charles and I know and love as a comic book reader. Everyone's comic is someone's first comic.
Right.
And but this Matt Smith's first episode felt like a perfect place to jump on.
Yeah, I totally agree. The first time anybody watches Doctor Who, there's always that initial confusion. I think you're not quite sure what you're watching, and I think this episode is another perfect example of that. Okay, you're not quite sure who the lizard lady is and why she's got a wife and what they're doing in Victorian England, and who's the little butler that looks like a potato, and there's all this stuff going on with Doctor Who. So part of the fun, though, at least for me, and then I'm not sure that applies to everybody, but I think for a lot of people, is going online or at least doing your homework and okay, who is this, and or trying to you're not quite sure what you watch, but you're really intrigued by it and you want to go and find out more, so you go back and watch some older episodes and you kind of piece together Doctor Who. And so that's why I always feel that every episode is somebody's first time. And Doctor Who, the way it's structured is that generally you can just about go in at any point and just start watching and then just kind of fill in the gaps for what you don't really know.
Yeah, okay, good. So so let's go into the episode. What do you think of the new credits?
I liked the opening credits as far as visuals. I think they were really strong, and I know that they were based off of a fan online that came up with a whole clockwork design with gears, and that apparently Stephen Moffat really liked it and thought it was one of the few really original takes on the titles. So that he brought the guy in actually and had him work with the BBC production team, and together they actually did an official version of that for the new season. And as far as the new theme arrangement, I'm a little iffy on it. I think some of the parts were good. I think some of the parts were a little whiny and strainy.
Okay.
But I think that's just going to be one of those where it's going to take maybe a few episodes for me to click with a new theme. Sometimes it happens with me that sometimes the new theme arrangements don't grab me off the bat, and it takes me a while to get into it, but eventually I get there.
Okay.
So what did you think?
I especially like the visuals. I really loved the the kind of stairwell mechanical things.
The spiral.
Yeah, I really like that a lot. The theme was okay. I mean, it's the basic theme, so changed a little bit. I especially liked showing the 12th Doctor's eyes, because that's been such a, they even talk about in the episode about what is it with these eyebrows. I could be, I could open,
the attack eyebrows.
Pops, yes. And
such a great line.
As many people, old time fans know, right? They used to show the face of the actor,
Right.
over the credits, and then they kind of stopped this on the new era, and I kind of like that added back.
They started doing that at the end of Matt Smith's era, in the previous credit sequence before now, that started off with with Clara taking over as companion, and with Matt's face kind of creeping in and blended in with the background, which I thought was a really cool way to do it, as opposed to just a big giant head coming at you like in the old days. And they kind of carry that over with this, and I was really glad to see that.
Yeah. So I'm going to start out with something I wasn't sure I liked, and that'll lead us into the story. I did not like the Doctor's Swiss cheese brain.
Mm.
And I understood why, and I'm not saying that it wasn't a necessary story point, because I think you should show that regeneration is not easy. Um, I think, right, wasn't my friend Ken Schaefer, hey Ken, mentioned once that some companion or some previous, you know, Time Lord that was traveling with the Doctor, like changed her appearance just the way you would change like your hair color or something.
Yeah, that was Romana,
Yeah, and
the Fourth Doctor companion.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so, but they've kind of made it very clear in this our modern era that regeneration is something difficult, traumatic. So I like that this time it was more mental than physical. But one of the things I love the most about the Doctor is that he's the smartest person in the room. And to have the first part of the episode where he wasn't and being confused was a little. It was like the dress shirt's supposed to fit, but it's just like a little itchy or something. For
A
those
little
of you,
distance, a little
yes.
off.
So for those of you, we do not do a video podcast, but Charles and I are looking at each other, and he has the biggest smile on his face as he's listening to me. So I can't wait to hear what he's going to say.
Um, okay. Yeah, I mean, I totally get, where you're coming from. From what I read online, so take that for what you will. Um, I think that whole memory gap thing was deliberate because, yeah, there's always sometimes there's initial regeneration amnesia, what's commonly called, that sometimes, okay, the Doctor doesn't quite, he doesn't, he's remembering so many past lives, and everything's all kind of jumbled up, and and like Matt Smith said, he's still cooking,
Yeah.
and so everything's not quite in place yet. But with the new 12th Doctor, I think it was deliberate that this little, these little memory gaps are going to be actually part of his persona,
Okay.
because like with the whole thing, like he didn't recognize the clockwork droids,
Right.
which he had previously encountered in his 10th incarnation
Right.
in the Girl in the Fireplace. And I think that, yeah, there's going to be, it'll be him going out and meeting someone, and the audience will be clued in. The audience knows who it is, but maybe the Doctor doesn't, and probably like Clara won't know who it is either, because she's either never encountered them before, like the Clockwork Droids, or that maybe she knows and the Doctor doesn't for some reason. So, or maybe there's going to be like it's going to be like a running subplot that he's going to try to piece together those memory gaps, or maybe he'll just get better as time goes on.
And it does make sense because, I'm 55, and there are times when I can't remember things, and my lovely bride Linda will mention them, and I'm like, what? And then once she starts talking about it, like, oh yeah.
That's called being a married guy.
Yes, I did think it was wonderful that, he sees the sister ship too, and still doesn't ring a bell, and that was just a really nice kind of a nice Easter egg for the fans.
Right, the SS Adam, de Pompadour.
Yeah, yes, yeah, exactly. So I always love seeing our Victoria threesome.
Yes,
it's just
the Paternoster gang.
Yes, they are just amazing. And I really enjoyed. I knew she couldn't do the one-word test again, but you almost felt like that's what she was doing again when she was talking to her about Clara. He's not your boyfriend anymore, and he's not got that pretty face. I thought that was a really interesting scene.
Yeah, Madame Vastra seems to delight in kind of like torturing Clara a little bit,
yes,
and making her squirm. And I think that's kind of interesting. I mean, generally I think that's maybe just Moffat's personality, because he doesn't seem to be always the strongest writer when it comes to women. and
Right.
female characters, and he's kind of gotten some flack for that, which I can get.
Yeah.
And in cases I do definitely agree with,
Hmm.
but I think that in this case it was good because it kind of pushed Clara a little farther than where she's been able to go previously,
Okay.
and kind of actually, step to the forefront, kind of in the way that Rose Tyler did in the Christmas Invasion after, um, the newly regenerated 10th Doctor was incapacitated, and she had to kind of step up to the plate in his absence while he's off, getting 40 winks
Hmm.
every so often.
Okay.
So, so that was my take on it.
All right. How about why was the Doctor upset with it being a bedroom? And what do you think he was drawing over everything?
That's a good question because he was doing all these kind of calculations.
Yes.
Now that could have just been him trying to, just get down what was in his head. Because normally I think that's kind of like inside the Doctor's head, that he always does these like amazing mathematical calculations in his head,
Hmm.
and so maybe this was easier for him to do, or maybe it's something else down the road that it's hard to tell with Moffat because you're not quite sure. Okay, what he's setting up for down the road, what he's setting up for down the road, and sometimes he forgets to address, or he just puts it in there and doesn't really follow up on it like he should. And I'm just speaking from a writing standpoint because sometimes that kind of bugs me a little bit, speaking as a writer.
Okay. So how about you? What are some thoughts you want to talk about?
I think that one of the biggest things is how, like, just really to the forefront we're getting almost a Scottishification, if that's actually a word, or Scottification. That probably sounds better, of Doctor Who,
Hmm.
with Peter Capaldi actually having a Scottish accent. And granted, there's been two other actors that playing the Doctor that are Scottish, Sylvester McCoy and David Tennant. Sylvester McCoy wasn't allowed to use his Scottish accent in Doctor Who, and Tennant chose not to. So it's kind of interesting that in this case, Capaldi, well, which probably helps because with Stephen Moffat being Scottish at the helm, that yes, he's just totally embracing a Scottish accent and just running with it. And they actually played it up with him early on, not being able to like understand anybody speaking English that wasn't speaking Scottish. So here comes Madame Vastra, who's actually played by a Scottish actress, Neve McIntosh,
Hmm.
speaking in a Scottish accent to him, so therefore he understands Madame Vastra, which I thought
There.
was pretty funny.
Very nice. Cool.
Yeah, and kind of meta on all kinds of levels there.
And
That
they even end up in Scotland, right? At the
right?
very end of the
Yeah,
episode?
Glasgow. Yeah,
Yes, which
yeah,
I thought was a really fun kind of twist and a little bit meta, but really cool.
yeah.
Uh,
I was
yeah,
hoping for Edinburgh because I've actually been to Edinburgh and I'm wearing my Edinburgh T-shirt right now.
very
So
nice.
in honor of Peter Capaldi.
Okay,
So yeah, but I was hoping for that. But
okay.
go ahead.
Talk to me about the discussion with the guy in the alley. I thought that was strange.
Yeah, and I think that was here's like homeless guy coming across the Doctor who's acting crazy, or crazier than a normal homeless guy, I guess. And I thought that was really interesting how, like, okay, the Doctor ends up like getting his coat.
Yeah,
But you didn't actually like he says, I want your coat, and then you don't really see the coat being handed over, but then he shows up at the restaurant later on wearing the coat.
yes.
So
And
obviously he got it.
spelling.
But then but yeah, exactly. So
And
I thought that was pretty funny.
we continue the tradition of the Doctor lies. Oh, I bought it. you know.
Yes.
Now he could have given
For
the
one.
homeless guy a watch he had,
Right.
but that was
Well,
interesting.
he said he did. So
Yes.
maybe he did give up that
Yeah.
watch for the coat.
Um, when the Doctor goes after wakes up and he's done the calculation, that kind of sounded like a new version of "I'm the Doctor." Did you
Yeah.
catch that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
Just
and
little hints of it.
yeah, and that is truly one of my favorite musical pieces, and it just gets
Right.
me such
Murray,
joy.
yeah,
So
Murray Gold just it's such an iconic piece by
yes,
Murray Gold.
absolutely. Um, I love Jenny posing,
Hmm.
and I love her and Madame Vastra's bickering back and forth, and her going, "I pretend to be a servant. Doesn't explain why I'm serving the tea here," and it's
Yeah,
so
that's another case of Madame Vastra kind of being a little bit cruel, perhaps.
yes,
Yeah, because she's making Jenny pose while she's doing all these other stuff that has nothing to do with her posing, and you
right.
know, and then yeah, there's the whole thing with the tea. So there's some really interesting things going on with their relationship, and
Yes,
I'm not sure all of it's good in that
I
regard.
I tend to agree with
So
you.
so either that's just deliberate,
Uh huh.
or it's just Moffat, the way his brain works.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but it
Hmm.
doesn't always seem like everything's kosher there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Um, so I'm going to put a place mark on who placed the ad. I think we'll talk about that at the end.
Yes,
Um,
that's
I
kind of a big deal.
yeah, I did. I did like the restaurant scene. It was very cool. A lot of nice bantering where both of them think the other one invited them.
Right.
And the doctor's comment about, an egomaniac needing,
Yes.
needing game player and, something.
Right.
And she's like, yes. And he's like, well, so,
Yeah, and he's talking about her and not
right.
him. And
Yes.
she's talking about him, so there's that little confusion, like, what do you mean me?
Hmm.
So yeah, there's that's kind of interesting to see,
Yeah.
that those little sharp barbs there that
Hmm.
they're gonna have. I think that's kind of like, yeah, kind of how their new relationship is gonna play out. Is it's gonna be a little bantering back and
Yes.
forth, and
Yeah.
not flirtatious like with the 11th Doctor.
Yes. And I shared last night, but look without looking is what my lovely bride tells me every time we're in a restaurant. Look at that person. Now don't look. And I'm like, what? So I felt for
Vindicated.
yes, I felt for Clara very much. Like, wait a
You
minute.
were sympathetic.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
Mhm. Um, Interesting thing about the holding the breath. And
Yeah.
also, she was really, I guess it's a now kind of a good time. At David T. Fan tweeted last night, he wrote some nice bullets about Clara. Took zero crap from Vastra, solved the
Right.
puzzle in the newspaper, worked out that she had to hold her breath and held it for ages, caught the Sonic and helped the Doctor free them, refused to answer the robot's questions despite being threatened with torture and death. And I think that was a really cool scene.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that there were two really genuinely creepy moments in that episode. The first was, and then both of them took place around that time. That first, when the Doctor and Clara try to get up from the table, and the clockwork droids kind of like they start to get up, or
Yes,
like they start to get up and kind of move in,
right.
as they try to head for the door, and then they kind of hover there, and they maybe the Doctor and Clara take another step, and the clockwork droids start coming at them a little closer even, and so then they return to the table, and then the droids just settle right back down and start doing what they were originally doing. So I thought that was kind of creepy, and then the whole scene, like you said, with Clara holding her breath. I mean, that's pure Moffat right there. As anyone that's seen The Empty Child or Blink,
Hmm.
or any other really major Stephen Moffat written episode,
Hmm.
knows that he loves to play on those like sensory, or like some kind of like like with Blink, it's like don't blink, or
Yeah.
yeah, or like make you forget that there's a typewriter that's typing by itself off in the corner somewhere, stuff like that. And with this case, yeah, with the holding the breath, there's that genuine tension that Moffat just really seems to love.
Yeah, and when you watch Blink, you try not to blink. And in this episode, you're trying not to, you're holding your breath as well.
Right.
And not doing it near as long. And I love the close up with the eyes starting to water, and you
Yeah, that
can.
was great.
I mean, they did a great job of showing how hard that was. I also loved Clara being brave and saying and calling, the half human, half open head guy, gear brain, you
Yeah.
know, go ahead, kill me, kill me. I don't care.
Yeah,
Uh,
I thought there was some great special effects with that,
yes.
with that open head
Yeah.
look.
And literally seeing the gears running
Hmm.
was
That was a nice
wonderful.
job. Yeah,
Yes.
very
Uh,
cool.
um, there, which I'm not sure yet, but in my final selections of the line of the show is when Clara reaches behind her in a leap of faith and the doctor's hand is there. If there was a
Right.
moment, I had faith that I was going to love this 12th Doctor. But if I had doubted, I think that's the moment that I would have said, yes. Look, it's the Doctor. Look at him. No matter how crazy and wild and unpredictable he is, when she says, I know he has my back, and that hand is taken, I got to tell you, sitting in the living room last night, my hand shot up and I went, yes,
That was your genuine yes moment.
yes, it was.
Yeah, that was, and I think that was definitely a make or break moment for the Doctor, as far as, especially with Clara. As far as Clara was concerned, it was a make or break moment, because if she reached back and he wasn't there, well, that's it. And then your faith in the Doctor kind of goes out the new Doctor goes out the window. But obviously he's going to be there because it's the Doctor. Come on,
Yes.
you know, regardless of the Scottish accent and the older appearance and the bulgy eyes and the attack eyebrows, it's still the Doctor. And yeah, that was a really deliberate point that was, as far as the theme that was coming across in the episode, about, yeah, regardless of all this, it's still the Doctor. But yeah, you knew he was going to be there for her, and yeah, that was definitely a great moment.
Um, so we get the cavalry coming, and that was another great moment. And we Moffat kind of plays with, I don't know if it's the BBC censors or everything, but we get a Vastra and Jenny kiss.
Or
Kinda.
kind of, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's the way they can get around, is like, well, it's not really a lesbian kiss because she was giving oxygen to Jenny,
Yeah.
so therefore it's not a kiss. So don't
Yes.
freak out. Don't write letters, and
Yeah. So I ship them as a couple, though I sometimes think, as we've talked already, Jenny gets a little rough. Jenny isn't appreciated enough.
pretty much. I'm
Yeah.
Team Jenny.
Yes. And, she had that great line where she says, I don't like her. I love her. And as far as being different, she's a lizard.
Right.
I mean, just
That eats
wonderful.
people.
Yes.
That,
Yeah.
yeah. She has like criminals in the larder that she gnaws on when she gets peckish.
Yes. um, I love the broom story, and kind of explaining to the robot how he's not even partially a version of himself.
Right.
So do you think the Doctor pushed him or he jumped?
That ethical question. Part of me would kind of like to think that he was pushed, but
Okay.
I'm kind of thinking that, yeah, he jumped.
Okay. And notice at the end they didn't tell us.
You're right, and I think that was deliberate because, yeah, you're not. It's to keep you on edge, and it's like, okay, did he really do that? What's this? It makes the Doctor more unpredictable, and you're not quite sure how he's going to react, and it gives you the impression that, okay, maybe he's not a squeaky clean goody two shoes.
Yes.
So there's darkness.
Yes.
There's just a little hint of darkness in this 12th Doctor.
So TARDIS new wallpaper, yay or nay?
it's not a major upgrade. It's basically just throwing a few little accessories
Yeah.
in with different lighting.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm okay with it. I
Okay.
think the orange lighting works.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that there's like a recliner chair in
I
there
do too.
because
Um,
in a bookcase because that's one of the things that I loved about the Eighth Doctor's TARDIS was
yes.
that it had this really cool, like a place where he can curl up and read the time machine or
Mm-hmm.
what have you.
Yeah.
And I loved that, and I was kind of glad to see some of that
When
brought back into the console room.
absolutely when I was watching the movie, with my good friend Paul McGann.
Oh, just throw that up.
Yes.
Throw it up that I've never met him and
Yes.
love to.
So because they did show the Sylvester McCoy doctor, right, sitting
Hmm.
reading, and so I was like, wow, that's kind of cool because, in the 9th, 10th, and 11th Doctor, there wasn't any place to sit.
Right. And at
Uh,
the end of the episode, the Eighth Doctor goes right back to his original sitting position and picks right up on the book where he left off,
yes, which is so
which is
cool.
great. Yeah.
Yes, very nice. So this is where we may get a little controversial, but I need you to shoot straight with me.
Uh-oh.
11th Doctor calling Clara. Cheesy or brilliant?
I'm
And
kind of.
and
Go
not
ahead.
be a fanboy. Don't be a fanboy. Tell
Mm,
us what you think story-wise.
okay, from a non-fanboy perspective, I think it worked from the simple fact that Moffat is trying to reassure all those fangirls on Tumblr, upset that they're not going to have a young doctor anymore, that there's this old guy, and how could they possibly do this? And I'm done with Doctor Who, and like I'm just so upset, and I'm going to, then after posting on Tumblr, I'm going to go on Twitter and post on there and how upset I am about that. And I think that was, that seemed to be a running theme with that of trying to reassure the audience that okay, it's okay to like the new guy. It's okay, yes, he's old, but he's still cool, and just watch, what having Clara watch out for him, it was nice. And then you could also kind of, you know, it brought Matt back for just a nice little encore, you know, just to just one more glimpse of him before, his era goes away and or really just evolves into the new 12th Doctor era. So it's just a nice little encore.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that that theme of reassuring the audience. I mean, there was a lot of that going on, and that's gotten some flack already online. That like I'm seeing people like, well, Moffat doesn't trust the audience to embrace the new Doctor, and he's just being insecure and all this nonsense. And I'm thinking, well, Russell T Davies did the exact same thing with David Tennant in the Christmas Invasion, because trying to reassure people that had never seen a regeneration before that even though he's not Christopher Eccleston, he's still the Doctor, and yes, it's still okay to like the new guy. So I just see it as more of the same, but I know a lot of people aren't going to see it that way, and I wish they would.
There there is one of my favorite scenes in Serenity, at the end of the movie, spoilers,
Hmm.
and the ship has been rebuilt, and Mao is talking to Zoe, and they have a conversation about the ship, and it's tore up, but it'll fly true. And it has a double meaning. She is talking about the ship, and she is talking about her
Right.
after losing Walsh.
Yep.
And it is a touching scene, and it works on both levels. Um, I thought that when he said, "You can't see me, you look at me and you can't see me, please just see me," it's working on both levels. I think he is talking to Clara, and I think he's talking to fans. And I loved it. I thought that it makes sense that you had bonded with this doctor if you're a companion.
Right.
And when you get a new doctor or a new boss. I mean, let's put it in real world. If you're really loyal to a boss and he or she moves the company and a new one comes in, you're not as loyal, and that's the easiest time for you to make a change in a new job, right?
Right.
And so I think in practical thinking that makes sense. And it made for a really cool ending because especially when he's like, I'm not sure I'm a hugging person now. And she's like, I don't think that matters. I don't think you have a say in it.
Yeah, I thought that was a very sweet scene
Yes.
between the two.
Yeah. And it I just was really happy with that. So and I also thought that the music playing behind the Doctor and Clara's discussion sounded like a little bit of music like from Beauty and the Beast or a Disney movie, very whimsical, very poignant. I crush Murray Gold's.
Yeah.
I just love what he does with music. So I was really happy with that ending.
Yeah.
So I've got some other questions, but is there anything up to that point, and then we'll talk about the Promised Land kind of separately, that I didn't cover or you want to discuss in your notes?
Let's see. Okay, we covered the Scottish thing. We covered, the whole Vastra's reverse psychology. So I
Yeah,
think
the mask thing was cool where,
the veil.
Yes, the veil.
Yeah, and trying to get Clara to step up to the plate, which I thought was really good.
Yes.
I noticed that, like, it seems like Strax anymore. One thing I noticed was that he seems to be just played for comedic effect anymore, which isn't bad, but I think it's kind of getting a little bit overdone. Like I thought that whole sequence, that little scene where like he throws up the newspaper, the London Times, to Clara and knocks her out with the force of his throw. It was fun little slapstick, but I'm just wondering, okay, is that really the kind of mood that we want for this episode?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing I have. I talk, I do a Castle podcast, and one of our concerns is that the writers, Nathan Fillion is so good at playing the fool and being silly that sometimes I think the writers go to that
a little too much
without forgetting that he brings something to this partnership. I remember the guys from Modern Family, they'll be talking in the room and they said that they'll have, Phil doing something. And they said, hey, absolutely, it would be funny and the actor would kill it. But we got to remember that, Claire married this guy. How much silliness can you do?
Right.
So I hope
he can't be a complete buffoon.
Right.
Right.
And I think Strax is dangerous. And I think every once in a while it would be nice to see him.
That edge.
Yeah, that edge of him that he is.
Yeah.
Don't
just talk about grenades, use them.
Yes, exactly. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good?
Yeah.
Let's move on to kind of the postscript. I have no theory who Missy is. I've kind of stayed away from the internet. I don't know if you've kind of done any looking.
I have a theory.
Okay. This is speculation, not spoilers.
Yes, this is pure speculation.
And, I am thinking that because the Doctor mentions Clara at the shop being given his number, and then something placed in the ad, and then they show us Missy, that they're wanting us to think she's the person that's been doing this.
Right.
So please speculate away, Mr. Charles.
Let's see. My theory involving Missy, she's got some big long title that's something of the Netherworld. I can't quite remember what it was, but that's the official title. But the fact that they refer to her as Missy right off the bat, and not that, leads me to think that okay, they're trying to cover up who this character really is.
Okay.
Just the name Missy, I was like, okay, Missy. And I was just rolling through like, okay, is it like, like missing link or, you know, mistake, or is it perhaps mistress? And I'm thinking, and I got to the word mistress, and I'm like, mistress. Okay, well, mistress is basically a female version of the word master.
Right.
So, and there's been, all this, there was criticism of like, okay, you know, why have we never seen a female doctor yet? And so I'm thinking, well, is this maybe perhaps Stephen Moffat's way of addressing that criticism by coming up with a female master?
Okay.
So is Missy, in fact, the mistress, which is now a new female incarnation of the master after John Sim?
That would be very cool.
That's my theory. Now the question
Okay.
is, am I right or am I just totally talking crap?
Well, it's
Guess
certainly,
we'll find out.
yeah, it makes sense. The garden did look like a TARDIS, kind of circling with the fountain at the middle. And I kept waiting for the other shoe to fall, when she said, "You're in the promised land, you're in heaven, you're in paradise." I kept waiting for something else, like, when they did a shot backing up, that you would see something else, but you didn't. So,
Yeah, now there's another way that this could go.
okay.
Okay, there's another evil female Time Lord out there
Mm-hmm.
that's never been addressed since the Seventh Doctor era, and that, as older fans know, is the Rani, who is an evil scientist Time Lord that used to plague the Seventh Doctor, and she appeared in a couple stories, Time and the Rani, and then previously in Colin Baker's eras, the Mark of the Rani.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't heard anything about the character since, except in books that she was killed off supposedly. But the question is whether that's actually canon or not. Like, she might have been killed during the Time War. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But potentially they could bring that character back. So it's possible that Missy is named such that it's maybe to throw people off the trail, thinking that's a female master, and maybe it's the Rani, which would be fantastic because I'd love to see the Rani back.
So does Ken Schaefer. Every time we discuss about who they should bring back, Ken goes, and they need to bring back the Rani. We just need the Rani so bad.
Mm-hmm.
I would like that better than the Master.
I agree. Totally.
Also because she said, my boyfriend.
Right.
And not that I have any problems with the Master thinking that the Doctor and him are romantically involved or there being some attraction. It just makes a little more sense based on the old episodes I've seen.
Right.
I'm okay if it's totally somebody new, but it would be cool to have this kind of iconic part of classic Who come back in this way.
Well, in the original Rani, Kate O'Mara recently passed. So yeah, it would be great to keep her character alive after all this time. And it's one of the few things that New Who hasn't brought back from classic Who. So yeah, I think that would be, I would definitely prefer it if it was. I mean, yeah, I really want to see the Master back, but yeah, I'm not quite sure if the female Master saying that, okay, the Doctor's, instead of her archenemy, is now her boyfriend, is the way to go.
Okay.
That's my take on it.
All right. Very nice.
So,
so, and I do think we need to, on our Facebook page, we should start building a list of all the things the Doctor doesn't like. Last night we heard mimes and karaoke.
He does.
No. Right. And then I also think, hadn't he talked about Twitter or something.
Yeah.
What do you,
Well,
so,
Moffat's got a bug up his butt about Twitter.
yes.
Ever since he left, he was on Twitter and then left because he got tired of all the criticism from fans. So, and then
Mhm.
he's kind of like had almost like an edict that he doesn't want anybody actively working on the show being on Twitter, which is really interesting because Jenna Coleman is now just recently on Twitter. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm really curious about that. But yeah, he just loves getting those little digs in on Twitter.
Yes. Absolutely. Uh, so no last comments. Anything to talk about else? If not, we'll go to our best line of the episode, and you're welcome to do an honorable mention, Charles, since we make
Okay,
the rules.
okay. Um, I think you want me to go ahead first, or you
Yes,
can
you
go
can
ahead
go ahead.
first. Okay. Well, I think the obvious line to go with for line of the episode was, "These are attack eyebrows. You can take these bottle tops off with these things."
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that pretty much was just the line that slayed everything. So
All right.
that's and then my runner-up, I would think that it was a little quick aside, but I thought it was so good. Was where the doctor says, like, "I hate being wrong in public." Every time, like, everyone forget that happened.
So that was my runner-up. So thank you. Um,
See, this is why you should have went first.
no, no, no. I think that's part of the fun. I, um, I've already talked a little bit it. Um, I think you can't see me, you look at me, we've already talked about would be an obvious choice.
Mhm.
So, um, and um, so I'm going to do one funny and then one serious. I love that when he says, I just skip ahead to my bits.
Right.
Which is
Yeah.
what a lot of us do is I'm
Right.
not really listening. I'm just waiting
hmm
for my turn to talk.
Yeah. When it affects me. Yeah.
Yes. Um, but I'm going to go serious. And I do think I love when she says, I don't know, but I know where he will be, where he will always be. If the doctor is still the doctor, he will have my back. I'm right, aren't I? God, please, please say I'm right. And that just, like I said, that was a moment. So I had to pick that line. So very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. And oh yeah, we can't forget like things like Planet of the Pudding Brains.
Yes.
That
Oh,
got a lot of love on Twitter. Actually, I
absolutely.
think it was trending worldwide there for a while.
Awesome.
So Planet of the Pudding
Mhm.
Brains. So
Yes.
yeah, well done there.
Very, very nice. And he also wants more round things in the
Yes.
TARDIS. I used to
Yeah,
have
he's like
round
these.
things.
Yeah, I wonder where I put them.
Yes. Um, so at the end of our discussion, we're going to give it a scale from 1 to 10. Um, we usually do 1 to 10 sonic screwdrivers, but one of the things that I stole from the podcast mom, Karen. Hi, Karen, by
Hi,
the way, who
Karen.
helped us with our promo.
Yay.
She always, she started this, is that she would pick something random from the episode and use that. So, like, she may say, I'd give this X buckets of drinking mop water,
Okay.
so something.
All
So,
right.
Charles, your rating.
Okay. All right. My rating is 7 out of 10 cups of tea.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, because I mean, especially with Madame Vastra and Jenny and the
Mm-hmm.
whole tea
Yes.
thing,
Yeah.
like Vastra saying that like we're gonna need a lot of tea or something like to
Mhm.
that effect. So yeah, that's what I went with. 7 out of 10 cups of tea.
So I was really tempted to give this 10 out of 10. And the problem is you have nowhere to go up, and
Right,
so from my perspective, a 10 should be very, very rare.
right.
But I am going to give it 8 out of 10. Almost lesbian kisses.
I like yours better than mine.
Okay, well, and you will find that
Lesbian
is,
kisses teasing or
yes, that is part of the fun. Is you're like, okay, I've gotten all my review, I've picked out my line. Now I got to figure out something clever to do in the scoring. So,
Yep. I think you
um,
win.
well, I don't know if there's a contest. Um,
I'm
one of the
making a contest. You
things
win.
I want to do, Charles and I both agreed, is because he is such a Whovian historian. We are going to do a reverse the polarity segment each episode where this is similar to the Amazon suggested sales. If you like this, you might enjoy blank. So if you liked this episode, Charles.
Yeah. Here's where we we're going to reverse the polarity. I think actually I had 2 episodes that really kind of stuck out as far as, like if you liked Deep Breath, you're going to love this. And I think the first one is The Christmas Invasion, which is David Tennant's first episode, which had a lot of the same themes, like we discussed that about the Doctor regenerating and the companion not really knowing who this guy is and if he's still the Doctor and can I trust him, and where's the guy that I knew. And in The Christmas Invasion, Rose Tyler goes through a lot of soul searching and questioning, and just when she's about to totally give up faith in the Doctor's new 10th incarnation, he's up and he's translating through the TARDIS and everything's like the Doctor's back and he's great and things are going to be fantastic. So I think there was a lot of that in Deep Breath. And the other episode, which I think is almost kind of obvious at this point if you watch Deep Breath, is The Girl in the Fireplace. Primarily because of the episode's villains, which were the Clockwork Droids, which made their first appearance in The Girl in the Fireplace, which was Tennant's 4th episode of Series 2, and that with the whole in the 51st century setting aboard the SS Madame de Pompadour, which itself played into this episode, and the mention, like as soon as there was the mention in Deep Breath about spare parts. That right there should have triggered anybody that watched Girl in the Fireplace to go, oh my God, it's the Clockwork Droids, if they hadn't already figured it out. So definitely those are my 2 recommendations.
Very nice. Both great episodes. And The Girl in the Fireplace is one of my favorite.
Also written by Stephen Moffat.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. So thank you. We have reviews. Thank you so much. We are up to 10 ratings in iTunes.
Ooh.
And we have got 4 listener reviews. We have one. They are all short, so I'm going to read them quickly. Moisturize Me by Bracco 1187. Fun Talks and Good Podcast. Good Times by DNO Jackson. No relation, I'm sure. Funny and friendly fanboys talking Doctor Who. Positive and upbeat, which is refreshing since usually fanboys are horribly critical of what they supposedly love. I will tell you that when I can criticize when I don't think something is good, but I will quit doing this podcast if I cannot talk positive about it, because I don't want to talk about something I don't enjoy.
That's
right,
good.
Charles?
Definitely.
Yeah. Great podcast by ETG23. They say, great podcast. The hosts work well together, and they bring their love of the series to the podcast. The information delivered is insightful and honest without going overboard into fanboy territory. This podcast will be of value to devoted Doctor fans and newbies alike. Highly recommended. Thank you. I don't know how well we work together, but we have fun. And then friend of the podcast, Tom Zoller, creator of our logo.
Yay.
And
thanks, Tom.
The writer, artist, creator of the wonderful comic book Love and Capes, shared Nothing Like Old Friends. The podcast is two old friends having an easy, seamless chat about something they both love. I don't know how seamless we are, but thank you, Tom. It's great to hear something I'm a fan of, The Doctor, being discussed in this kind of environment. I'm looking forward to more. So thank you, all four of you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
You hear this a lot, but it is true. The way you get more listeners is by people rating us and giving us reviews, because when you do a search, the higher rankings you are, is the more it's easier for people to find you.
Yep. So if you enjoy what you hear, if you like our little bantering back and forth, our little nonsense, please, go spread the word, and spread the word of Next Stop everywhere, wherever you can, because we can use all the help we can get, because we want to build this up and get a huge following and get everybody involved.
Yes.
And so if you would, go on iTunes and review us if you enjoyed it. If you don't, still go ahead. We can take it. We're big boys. We can take it.
Absolutely.
It's okay. We hope you like it, and we're gonna do everything we can so you like it. So just whatever you feel, just please let us know. And if you have criticisms or comments, or you just want to say, hey, I really dig the podcast, email us, or find us on Facebook or Twitter, and let us know.
Yeah, they can find us at Next Stop SMG on Twitter, Next Stop Everywhere SMG at gmail.com. I am at JWJ170104 on Twitter. Charles?
And I'm at Charles Skaggs on Twitter. And then I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. And then you can also find me at the geek blog, Damn Good Coffee and Hot, which, talks about all kinds of things, including Doctor Who, lots of stuff about Doctor Who, and then comics and sci-fi. So, I'm sure that just, whatever outside interest you have apart from Doctor Who is probably covered on that blog. So come check us out.
So, Charles, did you wait on your review so that you could talk about it first? Or have you, or did you already post it?
No, I actually held off with my Damn Good Coffee review, because I wanted this podcast right here, the one that you're listening to get the first, first dibs.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So I might do a wrap up at the end of the season.
Okay.
To cover everything, but I think as far as reviewing episodes week by week, I think this is where you're going to hear it.
So this is kind of the normal format. We appreciate everyone listening. Next week, I will be in Dragon Con promoting the heck out of this podcast. So we are working on a special guest star to sit in with Charles, so you don't have to wait to hear our take on it.
As we go into the Dalek.
Yes. We are also, we've already had friends of ours that appear on other podcasts reach out to us and said, hey, Jesse, Charles, can I guest host? And we absolutely are going to have some people in. I know for sure we will do this once this series ends, and we're going to go back and watch some classic Who. I know if, my wife goes, well, there's only 13, 14 episodes. I said, yeah, but with Charles, once we start talking about the Doctor, we're gonna want this every week. This is
the show's almost 51 years old. There's going to be a lot of things to talk about.
Yes, there is. So I think that's it. Any closing thoughts, Charles?
No, I just want to remind also that we've got a new promo out. So if you have a podcast or anywhere that you'd like to share our promo, let us know, or you could go find it on iTunes, I think.
Yes, it is. It's out there.
And it's on iTunes, or southgatemedia.com or mediagroup.com.
Yes.
Excuse me. Yeah, southgatemediagroup.com.
Right.
Sorry about that. And so you can find it there. So please feel free to spread the word.
All right. Well, we have not come up with a clever ending yet.
Do we need?
I
at this
just don't
point.
know. I don't know. It just feels like we should have, okay, like Hill Street Blues. All right,
Yeah.
y'all be careful out there, or
You don't want to do tune in again, same time,
yeah,
same
same
channel.
thing. Live long and prosper.
Yeah. See,
Keep
that sounds
hope
good.
alive. I just don't know what to say.
Do keep hope alive. That's yours. That's
Okay,
your
yes.
singing.
All right. Well, we thank everyone. Keep hope alive and keep Doctor Who in your hearts. And we will talk to you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
If you would like to donate to help pay for this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts, simply go to our website, southgatemediagroup.com, and click on the donate button. It can be as little as $1 or, well, as much as you want. Help keep this fun going by supporting this and our other shows. Thanks again for listening, everyone. You're the best fans in the world.